Good morning, you've joined us on News Desk. I am Bernice Abubedulansa. Ahead in the next 55 minutes, Ghana Journalists Association strongly condemns assault on TV3 journalist by a military person while he was filming in the line of duty. We'll get reactions of President Roland Afil-Moni. And massive turnout and public reactions to the first in a series of the Money Africa JoyNews minority parties and independent candidates debate as prospective candidates advocate a new paradigm shift in Ghana's democratic governance and development. We've got business, also sports. We'll be talking about that game yesterday, UEFA Champions League between Leipzig and the other team. We'll bring you more details on that shortly. George Atta Jr. will be here with me. Do stay for details. Thanks for your company. The details now. The Nigerian Union of Traders Association, Ghana, NUTAG, has expressed shock at the Ministry of Trade and Industry for locking up nearly 50 shops of its members in Accra on Thursday under what it describes as questionable circumstances. The task force set up by government commenced operations at Abosiokai on Wednesday to assess licenses of foreign retail businesses. JoyNews' PSC and Anayal Safo reports the initially peaceful activity turned confrontational when some of the traders felt their rights had been violated.
It was not what the task force on foreign retail trade verification had expected this morning as they visited the Kwame Nkrumah Circle area in Accra. Peaceful cooperation soon turned into resistance and the situation got out of hand. The problem? The special task force set up by government and led by the Ministry of Trade and Industry had arrived on the premises with security personnel during morning hours to lock shops. This followed the forced lockdown of Nigerian shops in Abosiokai some 3 weeks ago over illegal retail claims. Government had warned the Ghana Union of Traders Association of going beyond its authority, and in collaboration with NUTAG, the Nigerian Union of Traders Association Ghana had created the task force to ensure assessment and inspection of licenses. Apart from business operating permits and approved requirements, foreigners do not have the right of retail trade under Section 27 of the Ghana Investment Promotion Act, Act 865. Both Nigerian traders and Ghanaian government were aware of the exercise today. But according to the NUTAG president, Chukwumeka Naji, his association had not been made aware of any shutdown exercises.
I even called Prince this morning when I started hearing it, and he told me they are coming to lock shop. They are not coming to examine people. No, he told me they are coming to lock shop. That is this morning, when they have arrived there.
And what is your reaction?
I was surprised because this is misinformation. Our information is that they are coming to check document, the level of compliance.
Many of the traders did not understand why they allegedly had the required documents yet had their shops locked.
What are aware that you people are coming to verify and know who does not pay or who doesn't pay. So when you come, I bring my document. They said they're not here to check their document.
We want to comply according to what they are supposed to do. This is the document. See the names of our members. Now they are coming again.
See the paper, everything is here with me. Okay, what do you want me to do? I'm not a thief. I'm being elected.
Well, joining us is National Welfare Officer of the Ghana Union Traders Association, Benjamin Yeboah. Thank you for your time this morning, sir. The Nigerian traders accuse you, as their Ghanaian counterparts, of discriminating against them, leading to all of this. What's your response, sir?
Well, thank you very much, my sister. Good morning to your journalists. You see, it's a bit worrying when they keep referring to Guta. You see, now we have a presidential committee on foreigners in retail trade in the market, and they are the ones working. You know very well that this committee comprises of a lot of institutions that are mandated by the laws of Ghana to undertake certain activities. And that is exactly what they are doing. So they are there to do their work. And if you remember, Circle is not the first time that they've been there. They've been there already, and that time they asked all of them to bring their requisite documentation. Now, none of them complied, and then they moved on. When the committee met, what we were told was that they had a roadmap that they are going to follow. So last week they were at Abosokai to check on those who had and those who do not have the documentation, and they gave them notice. With Circle, we understand that they've given them enough notices. That is why they undertook that, exercise.
And so you're saying that these claims aren't true?
You see, I don't know why our Nigerian brothers are doing this to us. The thing is that this committee was there some time back. If you guys claim that you have all that requisite documentation, I like the word your man used, allegedly having those documentation. Then you go to the Ministry of Trade and tell them that, look, Baba, since the last time that you came there, we've acquired all the documentation, so we would want to know when you would also come and do the verification. No, you don't do that. You can't see that and they get there, so you claim you have it. So if they claim they have it and the places that belong, it's an ongoing exercise. They can go back and show them the documentation that they claim they have. So immigration will check theirs, GIPC will check theirs, the Ministry of Trade will check theirs, Registrar General will check theirs, GRA will check theirs. These are all institutions that are on the committee, and they are all mandated by law to check certain documentation. So if they check and you qualify, then why not?
Do you know if this is causing any reaction in Nigeria? I remember when this happened earlier, we heard from some Ghanaian shop owners, retail Ghanaian shop owners in Nigeria, of a similar situation of retaliation by their counterparts there. What's the situation there now? If you're aware, kindly share with us.
Well, I'm not aware of any such situation in our neighboring country, Nigeria. But the thing is that I'm really uncomfortable when we are talking of retaliation, when we are really talking of law. Last year, when Nigeria decided to close their borders, I mean, what did they tell? They told us they are doing an internal affair arrangement that will help their country. Last year, we heard that they were registering foreigners and ensuring that each and every person who comes to their country go by the rules that they have in their country. So I don't see where retaliation comes in when we are talking of law. When you see those who went to Tripoli, these are arms of government, institutions that are doing their mandated jobs. So I don't see how when an institution, let's say, comes to Joy, and it's from TRA, and they are checking Joy's when it comes to tax, and Joy says, me, I have not paid tax, and they will allow Joy to operate. They will allow Joy FM. The same way it is with every business. So please, I don't see where retaliation, if there is a Ghanaian anywhere around working somewhere and is not going by the requisite laws of that country, the Ghanaian should be checked to do the right thing. I don't see why, if you are doing the right thing, then someone says, if you do the right thing, I'll retaliate. So retaliate and do the right thing to what you think.
Very much for your time this morning. Benjamin Yeboah, National Welfare Officer of GUTA, speaking about that confrontation that happened yesterday between Nigerian retail traders and some officers who had gone there to enforce the law. For about 2 hours, 6 independent presidential hopefuls responded to issues on corruption, education, health, and many others in a debate organized by Imani Africa and JoyNews, your election headquarters. The program, moderated by head of our political desk, Evans Mensah, and editor Emefa Apau, saw most of the respondents vowing to break the monopoly of the NPP and the NDC in Ghana's politics. Here are excerpts.
Much, Marie Kofigan. Repeat the question, please.
So I'm asking that there are verified reports about the poor use of our petroleum revenues in spite of the revenues that we've made from that sector. What, in your view, is the problem and how will you fix it?
Can I have the numbers again, please?
So we had 5.91 billion oil revenues, and then approximately 2.33 billion has been allocated to support the national budget.
Okay. I mean, so the question is, what do I do to make sure this stops happening? Well, the reality is, you know, this is not a new problem. The Auditor General has come out several times on how money is being spent. That is the first point. And reports internationally and locally have shown that the Auditor General has done his job. What we haven't done is how we have followed up on the use of that report. And until we start punishing people who have misused monies, these things will continue. I mean, this is not rocket science, really. I was adding up, you know, the Auditor's General's report and the amounts that have been lost in the last 5 years, and it comes up into the billions. So until we punish people who have misused monies, this is just a small part of the problems we're going to be seeing in terms of misuse of public finances.
Mr. Samalo-Friampofo, poor use of petroleum revenues, what in your view is a problem? How will you fix it?
As long as we're going to be doing what we're doing all the time without punishing corruption in this country, we are not going anywhere. Look, Tema Oil Refinery sits idle. I'm sure if the question is put to us right now, we will all say the refinery has not been functional over the last several years. I have credible info that they refine private crude oil in the refinery, and the person ships the refined product outside of this country. Who owns that? But they claim we cannot refine our own crude oil in this country when we have Tema Oil Refinery sitting, you know, and refining somebody's private crude oil. Now, the whole thing, the bottom line is corruption. The system is broken. The system is broken. NDC, NPP must just be fired. We need competent people in the helm of governance. That's it.
Thank you.
This country will develop 1 million times better.
Mr. Kofi Kranting.
So let's look at the problem. Emifa Evans, we sell all our blocks. We all know that. We sell the blocks to foreign companies. How can we possibly get anything out if we sell it before we think of even refining it? Tor is operating at less than 50% capacity, so we're not able to even meet the domestic demand. So we have to import. And that's where the problems begin. Why is Tor not able to produce at full throttle? Well, we need to ask the NDC and MPP. Nothing we do in this country works. And somehow we accept it like it's okay. That's the problem. The problem is, why is Tor not operating at full throttle? Nobody can answer that. But now we want to buy crude oil from Nigeria and they charge us a ton and a leg. This doesn't make sense.
Thank you. Caleb Morgan.
I agree with Mr. Ampofo's assertion that is out of corruption that all these things are happening. With such amount are allocated for the budget to support the budget, and in the budget, agencies and departments come with their budget, and they are approved, and this money is dispensed. Lack of supervision from nobody. The Public Accounts Committee examines the budget or the expenses after they've spent and gone, sometimes when they are gone. So whenever I was listening to a point when they raised the issue of embezzlement, one of the members said, we should forget about the past and move forward. The question was going on, how are we going to safeguard the public past? It's sad. It's corruption and lack of supervision that's causing all that.
Thank you very much. We would take a final round of questions. And this is Mr. Sumte. I see your hand up.
Or there is rebuttal.
You want to take a rebuttal for 30 seconds?
Yes, please. I think corruption internally, but externally, those that are giving us this loan and grants, if you are a bank and I write a proposal to you and you ask me what am I going to use that money for before you give me that money, you need to do a follow-up to know that whatever you are giving me gets to the people. So to me, I think those that are giving us this loan must be careful, because when some of us get the chance to be in power and we do a research and we found out that you just gave the money out without doing any proper checks, I don't think your loan will be paid. Thank you.
So it's the first of its kind, and there was a lot of expectation by organizers where they met. Well, President of Imani Africa, Franklin Kujo, joins the show and to share his thoughts with us. Really grateful for your time this morning, sir. Now, going into this, one of the main reasons for this program was to hear alternative views, because we've heard the NDC and NPP over time sometimes repeating their policies and argument. From what you heard, were you convinced enough? Was it worth the effort?
Well, good morning to you and your viewers. Without a doubt, this engagement was enlightening as well as it was entertaining. And in terms of the alternate views, there were just a lot of them. I mean, I like to suggest, for instance, when you hear the question about the running an efficient government or running a lean government, and you hear Kofi Corentin suggest to you that he can make do with 10 ministers or 10 ministries, and he goes ahead to list them, it tells you that he's actually done his homework. And if you hear Oforian Bofo suggest that he can do with 40 ministers, and indeed he goes ahead to calculate in terms of the resource envelope where revenue will come from, he goes ahead to calculate the property taxes that we can garner from just valuing or taxing properties in this town, high-end properties, by the way, in this town. Just Accra alone, he estimates close to 200 million Ghana cedis. And that's quite a lot of money. To think that someone actually sat down, having not done a conclusive study of our land reforms, and come to the conclusion that the problem with our land reforms is actually land ownership, but goes ahead to find out how he can, through just a little analysis calculator, determine that the high-rise buildings in Accra, if properly valued, can bring us significant amount of revenue. He looks at both the expenditure side and then of course, the revenue generation side. And I see a lot of positives there. When you hear Onipa Yedel being asked a question about the problem with nepotism and indeed the fact that the government or the seat of government, the presidency, has too much powers. Initially, he starts off without you assuming that he's going to say anything significant. But he goes ahead to tell you and cite the Constitution. And I was startled, by the way, when I saw that happen. I actually sat up and I was startled because I realized that this gentleman knows his marbles, right? When I hear Carl Morgan tell you that, well, look, there must be some end to this free nonsense, really, because at some point, the money is not really for you as a government. And indeed, the best thing to do, if you really have invested in the lives of people, let them also make a little contribution. So he does not discount the free SHS, by the way, but he's trying to put the brakes to the freebies. And then he says that at the tertiary level, you make it fee paying. You know how revolutionary that is? That is revolutionary because it tells you that he acknowledges the fact that the two major parties have endowed us with a lot of freebies and we have abdicated our thinking, but he is not interested in doing that any longer at the higher level. So he wants to stem the tide of these freebies. And to think that Kofi Gan goes ahead to tell you that, well, he as a chartered accountant has done all the math, he's seen it all, and tells you clearly that in running an efficient government, he will take into consideration people with critical skills that are able to solve problems. And talk about the fact that his value for money mantra would actually hold a lot more even within his cabinet, tells you that these are fresh ideas that ought to be listened to and supported. I thought that the another revolutionary revelation was the discarding of the sanitation ministry, something I totally support. In fact, they were echoing my thoughts exactly. Because and I think it was Oforian Pofo who suggested that you gave 200 million Ghana cedis to a ministry that virtually did nothing. Zero, zilch. And then wasted everybody's time when you could have used that money to empower local government authorities, because sanitation issues are local. And indeed, it could have also been, of course, I would have thought they would have added the other element of being supporting the private entities with tax breaks to encourage them to deal with sanitation, rather than set up a bureaucracy that doesn't even know how to do its own calculations, claims they've solved the promise of Accra being the cleanest city in Africa during the lockdown, and it's now 85% clean. I don't know who is doing those mathematics for them. But I was happy. In fact, I was elated. If you saw the cameras, when almost all the candidates said the sanitation ministry should go away. To think that they thought, Osom, for instance, also mentions the issues of mergers, right? It tells you that I like to merge a number of the ministries because it's important. Oforian Pofo says something similar, but he goes ahead to say he is not really interested in cutting back on ministries, or disbanding ministries, but he's interested in, merging them, making sure that they are departmental heads. Something I saw in my travels in Australia and the UK, when government officials were telling me in Australia, for instance, the agencies of land, agric, and forestry lumped under one. And so they are just agency desk. And then there's a ministry. Now that's a country that is the 12th largest economy in the world, with almost half our population, and it's far richer than us. But here we are doing free everything, free human resource, free everything. So look, there were a lot of useful ideas that I got. I mean, the question on Ghana Beyond Aid was another electrifying one.
I was just coming to that. I'm just going to ask you what you would say of that particular question and how it was responded to by the candidates. Let me just mention that head of our political desk and moderator of the debate, Evans Mensah, has joined the conversation. We'll be taking his thoughts as well. But quickly, just tell us your thoughts on the responses to the Ghana Beyond Aid question.
The Ghana Beyond Aid was a question that we both agreed, Evans and the team obviously agreed that it was a very important question, because we've been living this lie that our problems are essentially the creation of other people's, largesse. And so the question was posed, and the answers that came were quite interesting. Don't forget, the backbone to that question was not why Ghana Beyond Aid is good or bad, but exactly what are the critical soft factors, soft issues, cultural issues that would determine it. And I think the candidate did a thorough job. Kofi Korentin talks about the value system, for instance. Marie talks about 3 critical skills. I think Oforian Pofo also, in fact, all the candidates spoke about the soft issues which were missing in this rather interesting conversation. Sure. So they did very well. And I wonder if the 2 major candidates can match up really to some of the answers that were coming from these very well-exposed persons, by the way.
Indeed, you're not the only one who shares that sentiment. I'll be sharing comments we got as the program was airing live on our Facebook page. But I'd like you to respond for now to one particular concern in particular from our viewer. And he says that this is a question and answer, not a debate. What would your response to this viewer be?
Well, debates, questions and answers are part of debate. Of course, a debate only happens when there are questions and then you answer, right? I mean, I think he was looking for the typical Ghanaian high-octane spin, Kaminami Kebi, the noise on some of the airwaves that are typically quite local. But these were not village champions. They were very cultured people who needed to be asked questions about the serious matters of the affairs. So for me, I think he probably did not even understand the questions that were being asked, so that's another one. So, well, it's well taken, but I'm sure he watched a different show.
Interesting. I'll come back to you, but let me take more feedback from our Facebook page, and then I'll get a response from head of our political desk, Evans Mensah. So let me bring you those comments. Kofi Gona says, Ghanaians, please give these people a chance. It's only by giving a chance that we'll be able to break from NDC and MPP shackles. Every major party was once a small party. Ruth Okanajete says, it was a great event. And George Donko says, I think Kofi Kranting will defeat Nana Addo and Mahama on a face-to-face debate, but voters, but voters will reject him because of our mindset. Stephen Tetegan says, even if none of these candidates win, I think the next president should make good use of these brilliant minds, especially Marique Kofi Gan and Kofi Kranting, the two Kofis. And Frank Tiago says, Ghanaian people should shock NPP and NDC in this year's elections. And his servant Kweku says, how can the candidates express themselves in such a short time? Please give them time to expand their responses. And Evans, I know we spoke about this yesterday about the minute, and for many people, especially in our culture where we are very expressive, it's quite difficult for people to speak in a minute about major issues like this. But Evans, good commendations, some reviews. What's your reaction to that, Evans?
So the thing about the amount of time allotted for responses, you actually observe that the candidates stayed within the 1 minute and put forward their thoughts. I mean, aren't we having a conversation about the substance they put forward? All of that substance that we are talking about today, this morning, was put forward either within 1 minute or in 30 seconds. So it is possible. It is possible if you set standards and you want to keep to it. That is where we want to get to as a democracy. We've run a political scene and interactions where people essentially over-elaborate. They say one thing and they repeat it in other words. And
in fact, in under a minute, we experienced that. Some people were actually repeating their thoughts in under a minute, and I was actually surprised.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, good observation. Even a minute, and you could see they finish making the point in maybe 40 seconds. And then they find themselves thinking, okay, I need to elaborate more. And then they attempt to elaborate, and then they repeat themselves before the bell rings. In fact, there were many instances that I even for me, and of course, I'm also a product of this culture, an aspirant is making a point. He actually finishes the point. The bell had not rung, and I'm caught looking, should I go on or I should wait? But he's done before the minute ends. So it is absolutely possible, and this is a standard we need to keep to. Dennis, your job will be far easier if all your guests and my guests on many shows come and we tell them before the show starts that when I ask you a question, please, you have a minute to answer, and they stick to it. Broadcasting and debates and conversations will be richer for it because you speak in bullets and you only speak the most essential things and not things that won't add anything but just words.
Interesting. Let's come to some downsides of the program, and this needs to be done looking forward. We had a challenge with technology. One of the candidates joined in, but unfortunately at a point we couldn't hear him, and so we couldn't get what his thoughts were on the subsequent questions. Moving forward, how do we work on that particular incident?
So I mean, the Zoom connection. I mean, it came through. It was great when he finally joined. You could see from his end because it's not just the hearing. I mean, listen. Now we've become accustomed to Zoom. Each time I'm doing a television show, and you know this, the person starts to speak, and you constantly have to remind him, please unmute, and because constantly. I mean, you know this. And it takes a bit from the beauty of the program. I know this, and so you notice that when the question is asked of him, he is speaking, but you can't hear him, and it's mostly because it is muted, and so you have to encourage him to. But for a debate show like that, and this was pre-produced, so he was told that keep the thing on and speak. But that obviously was a challenge. And so you have to keep on telling him what we all experience now that we all use Zoom. And it became slightly untidy. And so we had to move on from that. But that definitely is something that we would keep getting used to, both on this end and for the many guests that we'll have going forward. And for the next debate, obviously, there will be no Zoom anymore.
Okay.
The only reason why we deployed Zoom for him was because coronavirus means he's out of the jurisdiction and is not able to fly in because of the border closure, etc. And so that will not be a challenge going forward anymore.
Okay.
Coming in, we knew that was going to be a challenge. The guy set up well, and I must applaud the JoyNews technical team that did the yeoman's job putting that thing up, except for, I guess, you know, him getting used to the Zoom itself.
Yeah.
He would have had a great chance to also chip in his own views into the conversation.
Evans, let me just end my conversation with Mr. Cudjoe. We've received a lot of positive feedback, especially on our Facebook pages. People are impressed. At least they've heard alternative views, and they believe in one of their comments that the president and the flag bearer of the major opposition party cannot match up if they have a face-to-face with some of these candidates. What is the plan, if there is any, to capture these ideas and keep them, probably disseminate them further?
Oh, I must tell you that the two major parties have watched yesterday, and they've taken a lot of notes. That texter is right. I mean, if you put some of these candidates together with the major guys, they'll struggle. They'll definitely struggle. And so going forward, what we want to do is to collect the experiences. These reviews are useful, by the way. I'm sure the Joy team with us will sit down, collect the views, collect the most potent ones, and use that as a bait to the two major parties. They may not decide to be seen together, because I don't think they'll like to be seen together, given the narrative of this election. But we can cajole them and ensure that the very fine ideas that were expressed, lace them with the questions and put it to them, maybe on your own shows, and then we'll force them to have a conversation about these issues, rather than telling us the same things we are used to all over again.
Exactly.
Aren't we tired of hearing somebody is incompetent? It's become like a national anthem. Another person says, you two, you are corrupt, you are this, you are this. It doesn't define the 21st century thinking. When I hear the likes of Kofi, the two Kofis, it gives me great pleasure, because I see boundless, activism laced with a lot of expertise. Sadly, it's rare in this town, but it can be done. And through this collaboration, we are showing it is possible.
Yeah, and Bennett, very quickly, just about going forward, we're going to have a next debate. This is just the independent candidates, debate. There is going to be the minority political parties debate as well, and we should look forward to that. I mean, as I said yesterday, let's watch this space very closely, because a lot of the minority political parties tell us that they expect that in this month ending or early September, they should finish the internal processes, electing candidates, etc. Then put forward proposals. They will qualify based on the strict criteria that Imani had put forward, and that debate will come off. Watch that space, and then we'll see if the two main political parties, see the need to join in on this. So there's a lot going forward on the back of what happened yesterday.
Evans Mensah is head of our political desk and president of Imani Africa, Franklin Cudjoe. I really appreciate your time this morning. And we've been talking about the first of its kind independent candidates debate organized by Imani Africa and JoyNews. If you missed it, please get onto our YouTube page, even our Facebook page, JoyNews on TV, My Joy Online on YouTube, and watch it, so you can have a fair idea of what we have been talking about. Now, away from that, the Ghana Journalists Association has condemned the assault of a TV3 journalist allegedly by a uniformed military person at the Tema station in Accra when he was filming a cleanup exercise. The journalist Stanley Blewu had visited the station to file a report on the sanitation situation in the capital. The Minister for Sanitation, Cecilia Dapa, said the government had achieved 85% of its promise to make Accra the cleanest city in Africa. Now, According to reports, the soldier asked the police officer to arrest the TV3 crew for taking shots of the cleanup exercise on Wednesday. But we are told that the policeman reportedly declined and pointedly told the soldier that the cameraman had not committed any crime for filming the cleanup exercise in the public space. And we got that from the GJA. Well, its president, Afric Money, in a statement added that the journalist was forced to follow the soldier to the AMA head office, where the assault allegedly continues as the uniformed man deleted footages captured from the journalist device. GJA President Afric Money joins us. Thank you for your time this morning, sir. Have you reached out to the military? What are they telling you about this incident? Sorry, Mr. Money, if you can unmute your device. Sorry, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Great, we can.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. Soon after the press release had gone, I had a conversation with the chief of defense, who seemed to be overly worried about the extent to which the image of the military was being dragged in the mud. And I made him understand that we are not involved in the military. We will not set ourselves on a collision course with the military or any of the state agencies, because we know we play complementary roles. But the military cannot do without the media. Neither can the media also do with the military as a reliable source of information. But at the same time, we have a duty, we have a responsibility imposed by the Constitution, imposed by divinity, to rally to the defense of any journalist who attacked their line of duty.
But did he agree that this incident ever occurred? Because the military spokesperson says that you rushed in releasing the statement and nothing of this sort happened.
But soon after the incident, the crew rushed to our office and reported the matter, and we asked them to put some paper. So they sent a release to us, and based upon release, we couched our statement.
So are you saying that you didn't
go beyond whether the incident happened or not?
Okay, but you didn't get a response before you released the statement?
Pardon me?
You didn't consult the military before the statement was released?
No, I called, I did place a call to Kwashi, the director of PR department. He said he saw the message dates.
Okay.
And later on, we learned that the delegation led by Kwashi had gone to TV3 to sort of discuss the issue.
All right.
But we were not informed about the outcome.
All right.
But let me state again that the statement we carried had a factual foundation.
All right.
That cannot be disputed.
All right. Has the police been informed?
I've not been told yet.
All right.
But, I believe they should be interested in this issue.
All right.
And this should serve as a wake-up call to all sides, because a French journalist once said, a French lawyer, Michel Montaigne, once said, I learned little from good examples, but more from bad examples.
All right.
So now, some of these bad examples should serve as a fountain of lesson from which what include the military should bring.
But you're reported to have said this incident, among others, accounted for Ghana's poor show on the World Press Freedom Index. This particular one that happened, would you say would further push our status in terms of press freedom? Push it down further?
No, you didn't need a prophet to predict. Ghana is so many prophets, but I really need one of them to predict that it's the accumulation of such incidents which pushes our position on the World Press Freedom Index. And the international community, especially the international media organization, International Federation of Journalists, the Committee to Protect Journalists, they are interested in what's happening in Ghana. And we pray that we'll find a solution to this scandalous frequency of attacks against journalists, because they deem the beacon of our democracy.
Thank you very much for your time this morning. I feel Monish, GJA President. You're watching News Desk with me, Benis Abubedu Lansa. But time now to bring you a recap of some of the major political events that took place on Thursday, August 13, 2020. But there were two news conferences by the two major political parties. Let's start with the NDCs. It accused the Electoral Commission of a calculated attempt to help President Akufo-Addo win his second-term bid. The party further argues the EC underreported figures in the strongholds of the NDC while inflating those from the Ashanti and other strongholds of the NPP, that's the Ashanti region. Now, the NDC's Director of Elections, Elvis Zefria Ankra, explains how they detected those anomalies.
We recall that during the registration exercise, we had cause to draw the attention of the Electoral Commission of wrong registration figures they posted in the Ashanti region and other places. These deliberate manipulation of figures, which has been described as mistakes, would not have been noticed but for the vigilance of our agents and executives across the country. The phenomenon is not only unacceptable, but very indicting on the Electoral Commission. Now, we have what we call the NDC data versus EC data. Ladies and gentlemen, we have discovered discrepancies in the data we collated and that of the EC, some of which the EC has referred to as mistakes emanating from reports submitted by their officers from the regions. Interestingly, while these mistakes are over-reporting figures in our opponent's strongholds, they are under-reporting figures in ours. In the Ashanti region, for instance, the EC has so far reduced figures they initially published by over 40,000 following our diligence. There are more corrections to be made to the Ashanti figures that we shall engage the Electoral Commission to correct the anomalies. In the OT region, the EC underreported the figures by 10,127 at the end of phase 2. We drew the attention of the EC, but they continued to publish the wrong figures. At the end of phase 4, the EC underpublished OT figures by 14,124. So EC had 22,109, and NDC had 226,109, and the NDC had 240,233. Our continuous engagement with the regional EC office has resulted in a current deficit of 1,079. So as we engage them and draw their attention, but there's still a deficit as at the end of phase 6. We expect nothing short of total correction of the figures from OT, because we are all getting the figures from the same source. Start of day, end of day, we take it, we scan it, we do the analysis, we check. So at the end of the day, we must all get the same results. And this is simple addition. It's not any multiplication or any strange equation. Simple. 100 people registered here today, the following day, 70 people registered, the following day, 200 people, the following day. You add all up, you must all get the same thing. So we are not going to take any shenanigans from anybody.
The party has also been demanding an independent audit of the just-ended voter registration exercise. Now to the governing NPP, it says the flag bearer of the NDC is indecisive, lacks vision and has no core beliefs and principles. Speaking at a news conference, its national organizer, Sami Ewuku, highlighted what his party claims are major flaws of the ex-president and why the NDC must be rejected at the polls.
What was so good about John Mahama's leadership that he believes today that he deserves to come back to continue? Is it the 5 years of doomsday? Is that the good old days that we want voters to remember? Is it the high rate of unemployment? Is it his decision to give over 75% of Ghana's entire deposit of bauxite to his younger brother, Ibrahim? Is it his decision to oppose the free SHS? Is it his decision to give a 4.6 billion interoperability contract to his friend Roland Agambiri, only for the MPP to come, cancel it and do the same thing for $4 million. From $4.6 billion, we reduced it to $4 million. What is this good record that he's so proud of? Is it the incompetence that he showed by running the economy of oil-rich Ghana down the ground? Is it his indecision over the banking crisis that he himself had identified in the 2016 State of the Nation's address, but did not have courage to do anything about it? What is the good work that Mr. Mahama wants Ghanaians to remember with nostalgia? What were the good old days?
Coming up shortly in business, the Secretariat of the Afric Continental Free Trade Agreement will converge by the end of this year to finalize all outstanding issues ahead of commencement of trade next year. Details in a moment.
Hello everyone, it's time for business with me, Charles Aite. The Secretariat of the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement will converge by end of this year to finalize all outstanding issues ahead of commencement of trade next year. Speaking on the marketplace earlier, Chief Technical Advisor and Head of the Trade Negotiation Support Unit, Prudence Sepahizi, says the meeting will also help the Secretary General to acquaint himself with the operations of the other staff at the Secretariat. My colleague Bismarck Awusa has more in this report.
President Akufo-Addo, during a closed session of the 33rd African Union Summit, explained that negotiations with real estate companies for residential accommodation for other staff of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement were on course. Giving an update on the preparations for the official commencement of trade, Chief Technical Advisor and Head of the Trade Negotiations Support Unit, Prudence Sepahizi, told Joy Business a meeting on full and final settlement of outstanding issues will be held by December.
We already have the AFCFTA Secretary General. He's been appointed on the 23rd of March this year, and he's ready to move to the AFCFTA headquarters in Accra. And the immediate attention that he has to bring to the process is to complete the recruitment process of the AFCFTA Secretariat staff. We are already in the process of finalizing outstanding negotiations, and there is a planned extraordinary summit on the 5th of December this year. And we believe that by then, most outstanding work on negotiations will be concluded, and come 1st of January 2021, we will start trading within the AFCFTA framework.
Ahead of the full implementation in 2021, there is part of the agreement regarding the route of origin and retail laws yet to be firmed up. But according to the Executive Director of the AFCFTA Policy Network, Louis Afo, member states are 90% ready for the trade.
I want to say that with the rules of origin, the best of what I know that a lot of document is being put together, but I know that they are most about 90% true with schedules by member states, and that shouldn't be a problem. That is what I know from my perspective, and so I know that, and I know Prudence to confirm that. It's about 90% ready.
Mr. Aful has, however, allayed fears of some peculiar retail areas meant for indigents being taken over by foreigners.
Every member state has certain peculiar laws. Even if you go to Nigeria, they have a law that bans alien retails. In the same way in Ghana, from the days of Kwame Nkrumah, it was reviewed under Busia, the policy of indigenization, whereby there is a need for certain peculiar retail areas reserved for the people. This should not be an issue that has to, it will not have that major impact on after, because at the end of the day, the rules of origin will be, it's clear.
Now, shareholders of MTN Ghana have unanimously approved payment of a dividend for the financial year of 2019. The company recorded 1 billion cedi profit, an increase of more than 30% of the company's earnings against last year's performance. According to the board chairman, Ishmael Yankson, the company has earned a strong financial position for itself since it listed on the Ghana Stock Exchange. There is more in this report.
Telecom operator MTN Ghana continues to dominate the market with the largest subscriber base. After listing on the Ghana Stock Exchange in 2018, MTN has declared dividend to shareholders at the end of every financial year. However, the 2019 financial performance has been marginally affected by the banking sector crisis, which forced many shareholders to sell off their shares, a situation that brought selling pressure on the market. Seeking approval from shareholders at the virtual annual general meeting in Accra, Board Chairman Ishmael Yankson urged shareholders to maintain their confidence in the company and support its innovative strategies going forward.
If a final dividend of 4 pesos is declared and approved by shareholders, the total dividend payout ratio for 2019 will be 73.16% compared to the payout policy of 60%. This total dividend per share for 2019 will translate into 6 pesos compared to 5 pesos paid in 2018, representing a 20% year-on-year growth. There are enough retained earnings to accommodate the payment of this dividend.
Charles Aite.
Thank you for staying on News Desk. Time now to talk about technology, and Kobe Sparky Nkrumah is here with me. Today we are discussing the Huawei Y8P. Let me just unbox it quickly. It's a very sleek phone. Woo! But it doesn't have Google on it. We are so Google dependent in this country.
Yeah.
So if I buy this phone, what's the benefit?
So you don't have Google services, but Huawei has their own app store they call App Gallery.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can find all your apps in there. And there's some very neat little tricks that it does, you know, for apps that you can't find in there. You can still access your Twitter, your Facebook, your WhatsApp, even Uber. You can all find all of them. Even our My Joy Online app, our Doom Online apps are all in the App Gallery. So Huawei is getting their, you know, they're getting developers, they're incentivizing them to put their apps in their App Gallery because of the whole trade war between them and China. And I mean, regardless, it's a great phone. It's got 48 megapixel camera. On the back, you've got an 8 megapixel ultra wide and a 2 megapixel macro lens, and it's an OLED screen, meaning that you're not going to be draining your battery. And a fingerprint scanner is under the screen.
Okay.
Yeah.
You actually don't see it. You know, when you turn it off, there it is.
That is just indicating, and you tap it just a little, and it's open.
Really sleek phone. Thank you very much, Kobe Sparky Nkrumah. So don't worry, there's no Google, but yes, you won't miss out on anything when you buy the Huawei Y8P. But that's how we end this edition of News Desk. I really, really appreciate your company. There's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. I'm Bernice Abubeidul Ansah.